What's happening, folks? Welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. It's time for live, full-time reaction to Ross County 1, Celtic 2 in the nick of time. I've got Kenny with me. We had Martin dialing in from the stadium there, but 4G live broadcasting for Dingwall has proven a bridge too far for us. So it's just myself and Kenny tonight. You can ask your questions, get your comments in the live chat box below. Kenny, what a relief at the end. Fair to say that was a stressful 90 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the team limping through to January. I don't know if my heart's going to make it through till January, the way we're headed with the fixtures. It's an incredibly stressful time supporting Celtic at the moment, but it's a brilliant time because Postecoglou is building a team of winners. Winners get 97th minute goals. 4 of our last 5 results have been 1-goal victories where we've ground it out. And that's how you win things. Teams do not win 4-5-0, 38 games over a league season. There are many times where they grind out results, and we're probably doing it a bit too much now. But when you look at the personnel problems we've got, who could be critical of anyone for single-goal victories at the moment? We'll talk about the game. You know, it was a difficult watch, tactically a bit clumsy at times, but just look at the ingredients there. Right in the middle of December, playing 2 games a week for a number of weeks now, cold night up in Dingwall, cup final coming up, absolutely ravaged by injury. Postecoglou, a complete headache trying to manage the team, doing his best to rest Rogic, which for 96 minutes looked like the wrong decision, and then he comes up with a bit of magic at the end that vindicates that decision. Throwing all that together to get any sort of win tonight is something that is pretty special. And in the manner that we did it was just an incredible rollercoaster. And who knows where that 3 points will leave us at the end of the season, because it could be absolutely crucial. Looking at the actual match itself, they came out, I think they recognised that, well, Celtic are going to be a bit disorganised because they've got a team thrown together, so they try to press us for the first 10 minutes, and that worked. We struggled to bed into a shape that the guys that weren't familiar with in any event, because they've never ever played together. We're playing a full-back at right wing. We're playing a left winger through the middle. We're playing a left back effectively at left wing. It's just all over the place. They're just trying their best. And Ross County did seem to get some joy out of that high press, but no disrespect to them. Teams at the bottom of the league, their high press tends to fade. I thought if we ride this out for 10, 15 minutes, we'll take a foothold of the game, and we did. But then for that sort of hour spell after we scored, right through to the point where they scored, we're in complete command of the game. We've got 80% possession. We're just wasteful. And that is going to catch up with us. We can't keep winning 1-0. And part of the reason we're wasteful is we've got people playing out of position. Juranovic is getting into a natural right wing position, and he's hitting the ball in a bit overhit, a bit too high. That's because he's a fullback. Montgomery, he's not providing much out on the left-hand side. That's because he's a sort of fourth choice left winger. So we can't really be too critical of the output of the players. But looking at that first goal, something you've mentioned to me, Paul, actually, is we need to get the ball in earlier and getting it low into the strikers, because our strikers aren't blessed with great height. Kyogo's small. Abada, as our auxiliary height striker, is small. But if we get the balls in early on the deck, they've got pace and they've got brains. And that's exactly what happened for that first goal. And then the second goal was just a bit of brilliance for Rogic, and then just a sheer bit of passion from Ralston to put his head on the line. So delighted. I think Postecoglou and everyone involved deserves a lot of credit tonight, because it was just guts. It was just raw guts, and we got there.
Aye, it was a massive, massive victory for us in the end. But you're right to talk about the lineup tonight. It was even worse than the lineup on Sunday, and that was depleted. And when you looked at that front three tonight, obviously Abada through the middle, Juranovic on one side, Montgomery on the other. That's fullbacks playing as wingers, which, and you touched on there, Juranovic's delivery was really poor all night. But what can we really expect of these guys? Like, shoehorned into positions that they don't belong in. We have got a third guest coming in out the blue. Chris has jumped in from Canada. Here he is. Chris.
Evening, gents.
Evening. We're just talking about that lineup tonight. Even more depleted than it was on Sunday. And you just wondered where the goals were coming from with that starting 11 tonight.
Chris, you'd never have come on if this was one each. You've just blacklisted in the last minute.
Blacklisted it. I'm Raymond Reddington. I'm on the blacklist. Yeah. No, I saw the messages that Martin couldn't make it, but no. I mean, that was when I saw the starting lineup and I saw that we had no real recognised striker, and you're relying on Abada, who's had some previous experience scoring goals in his home country. I was like, oh my God. And County is a difficult place to go. It's a tight, narrow pitch. But I will say the pitch was in immaculate condition, and it definitely suited our style of football. And to be honest, I thought scoring the first goal tonight was going to be absolutely crucial with such a depleted lineup up front. And what a brilliantly worked move to get that first goal, get to the byline. Abada gets in front of the defender, and you're up 1-0, and you're thinking, great, we're in a position of strength. It was forcing County to now have to come out, allowing us to play a little bit easier out from the back. And there were several times that we broke up the pitch really quickly, but we just didn't have the usual front four kind of magnificence that we've been spoilt with once we've had everybody healthy. And you can just see that even though our intensity off the ball to win it back, it's not translating into the same fluency at the front end of the park. And, you know, we'll talk about obviously the other parts of the game, but I was certainly grateful that we got the first goal because it really did give us a foothold in the game.
Yeah, you just wanted us to go and build on that, and that's something that Kenny touched on just before you come on there. We've been in this position in a lot of domestic games recently where we've had slender leads and we haven't just had that ruthless streak to go and kill the game. And I thought in the first half we got in some really good positions, but we were really wasteful, almost a bit too casual with the final ball at times. I know the manager was frustrated in the sidelines a couple of times where we broke away because we won the ball back really quickly a few times in the first half. I thought our aggression against the ball was really good. Kenny, Liam Scales put in that great low cross for the goal. But if you think to Ross County's equaliser, he plays that slack pass into the middle of the pitch for Carter Vickers, who blasts out for a throw. And from that throw, they get a chance that Ralston makes a great block from. And then the corner comes in and equalise. So we really invited them back into the game in that sequence of play.
Yeah, I think the game changed a bit when they brought on White, that 6'5" striker, because they started winning balls in our final third, whereas before Vickers was just strolling it and we could build it at the back at will. But when he came on, that disrupted our ability to do that. And it made us nervous when balls were coming into the box. We've still got a big problem at corners. You know, my heart's in my mouth at corners. Ironically, I think we still have the best defensive record in the league, but it doesn't feel that way from set pieces. I actually think Joe Hartster came and claimed that. That's 3 yards for goal. It's a high look ball. He can at least come and get a fist on it and help his defence out. No, Joe Hart has been wonderful. He's been one of our best signs. Don't want to be too critical, but he was at fault with a crossball goal against Dundee, and I thought he had at least a hand to blame there. So that's maybe something he needs to work on. But Scales was obviously at fault as well because he's let the ball. He's just let his man get away from him. So, you know, we've got a lot of work to do there. Scales, I thought, overall gets pass marks, but he was a bit slack early on with some of his passing. Brilliant contribution for the goal. Looked a bit naive at their equaliser, but that's probably what you're going to get with someone from the Irish League who's a little bit of a project, you know. I still think we need to recruit at left back. I think it's an obvious piece of recruitment because I don't think Greg Taylor's a good functional player, but I don't think he's a marked improvement on Scales either. So I think it's probably our weakest position in terms of starting 11 is left back.
Yeah, there's no doubt Scales is still adjusting to life at Celtic and being a Celtic player, but I thought he did tire in the game. He had that really, really blatant booking right at the end. It was still 1-1 at the time, obviously, but he just hauled the guy back off the ball. Chris, most of the comments coming in so far are talking about Carol Starfelt's red card.
Yeah.
Now, Kenny said Jordan White came into the game and he won a few headers, White, to be fair to him, when he came on, but he goes up and he elbows Starfelt, and Starfelt goes down. And we'll maybe touch a wee bit later on in the commentary that I was exposed to in the game because I watched Ross County TV to my discredit. But he was hurt, and you could see he was hurt, and then there was blood, and I think he wanted to give the referee a piece of his mind because he'd been elbowed and Jordan White get away with it. But what do you make of the second booking?
Wow. I mean, the second booking, he took the guy clean out on the touchline, and when you're already riding a yellow card, which was for abuse of the official because you weren't happy with the fact that you took an elbow in the face, which under VAR, I wonder, is that a red card for County because he's out of control and he elbows Starfelt in the face? I mean, that could be a little rose-tinted glasses for me saying that as a Celtic fan, but the problem is Starfelt's already been booked, right? For the way he spoke to the referee, whether it's right or wrong. So he's got to know that if he's diving in on the touchline like that with 10 minutes to go in the game, he runs the risk of receiving a second yellow card and then being sent off. I mean, to me, I always say it straight. I personally thought the second tackle that led to the yellow card was a booking. And he's off. It's that simple. 2 yellow cards. The first yellow card he shouldn't have earned, but you can understand from his position, I'm bleeding. I took an elbow. Why is this guy not being booked? But the problem is the accumulation of that whole sequence across the two halves, or the second half, sorry, has led to him being sent off. And now we're playing with 10 men. But this is where we can be incredibly grateful for the system that Ange Postecoglou plays. Because even being down a man, the way we pressed the ball, the way we managed possession, I still felt we were always going to be in with a chance to score another goal because of how we play. And let's just be grateful for the magnificence of Tom Rogic, even on his weaker foot. What a chip ball that is to the back post. And Ralston must have been thinking, I got an early Christmas present with that one, right? And we got out of jail and we won a game that I think we all thought was probably got away from us, and we're 6 points behind, and now we're not. So that is a sign of a really strong team, that mentally you can hold it together, take your one chance, and with 10 men, we go back down the road with 3 precious points.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you can look at the red card two ways. Obviously, he takes an elbow and he's not happy about it, rightly so. I think the second challenge is probably one he has to make, because it looks like Charles Cook was maybe going to get in behind him, charging into the box. But Kenny, what did you make it? I mean, I thought the refereeing again tonight, the thing that always strikes me, whether it's incompetence or bias, the old debate, but Alan Muir, the Celtic players are saying to Alan Muir when Starfelt's on the deck, what about the incident where he was elbowed? And the referee saying, who was it? But, well, you should have been watching, because it wasn't an off-the-ball incident. The ball was in the air and it was the two of them that were going for it. So how do you not know who it was? You obviously just never seen it.
Petulant. Yeah. And there are linesmen as well. It's not
exactly.
It's not a Sunday league game where we don't have linesmen. So surely he can go and speak to somebody, one of his other colleagues, to determine whether it was an elbow. I mean, whether or not it was, I don't think it was a clear-cut intended attack on Starfelt. I think it happened in the natural course of play, and it wasn't that high, but it probably warranted a booking that never came. You saw when Starfelt was on the deck with his face, blood everywhere, and screaming at the ref, you saw Joe Hart screaming at Starfelt to shut up, because he knew he was going to get booked. Now, Joe Hart's an old head back there. He knows that if his centre-half goes on a booking and he's full of anger going out of that there's a possibility he's going to get a red based on him being rash. And he should have listened to Hart, but his mind was gone at that point. He just saw red mist, which is a bit unlike him, because he's a bit of a calm guy, Starfelt, on the park usually. So yeah, that was just all horrible. But it just led to the fact that when we went to 10 men and it was 1-1, and everything we spoke about before in terms of how challenging it is to try and get the points, it just makes it all the sweeter and all the more satisfying that we actually dug out a victory.
Aye, it does, 100%. Chris, just the last one on the referee tonight, I was screaming for a penalty right at the end, just before we did get the goal. I mean, I didn't really get too many replays, because, again, Ross County TV.
You don't need any replays.
It looked like that to me, because his hand was out from his body to basically save Callum McGregor's shot.
Yeah.
But, of course, no penalty for Alan Muir.
And the thing is, Alan Muir was in a fantastic position. That's the only credit I'll give him, is that he was in a great spot to see that. And the player, I don't know which player it was, sorry, but he comes out, he turns his body, and his arm is out like this, and you can clearly see it hit his forearm, and his hand wasn't in a natural position. That, by definition, in the current rules, is a stonewall penalty. And if we had VAR, it 100% would have been a penalty. And I don't want to get on here and talk about refereeing, because we could be talking about it every week, because the standard of refereeing in Scottish football, full stop, is shocking. It's not just Celtic and Rangers. It's everywhere, all the time. They're not professionals. They do it as volunteers, and it's their second job. But that's a clear penalty. And obviously we went on to win the game, so it's a moot point in the broader context of the result. But how he doesn't give that is just beyond me. It was as clear a penalty as we've had all year.
Aye, it certainly looked it to me. Before we talk about the winning goal, Kenny, I need to discuss Ross County TV again for one last time. Stephen Craigan's on the commentary, and your man presenting it, the main commentator, keeps telling us that Celtic are going to be trailing Rangers 6 points, almost as if he was happy about that. But Stephen Craigan at every Ross County chance went, "Oh!" Again, I mean, I don't know, and he's biased in BT Sport, but he must have thought because he was in Ross County TV the night that was all right. So brilliant to shut them up at the end. Even the Ross County TV commentator even got a wee line in at the end where, they're going to keep 4 points behind Rangers for now. Aye, brilliant.
She was Celtic. Celtic TV is the polar opposite. Tom Boyd's the complete. A Celtic player could walk on the park wielding an axe, and Tom Boyd would say that it'd be within the rules. I mean, it's the complete polar opposite. So you need to switch channels.
That's it. Anyway, we did get the winning goal in the 7th minute. Probably, I think the ball hit the net about 96 minutes and 10 seconds. Tom Rogic, who I thought actually was slack on the ball when he came on, he gave it away 2 or 3 times, struggling to adjust to the pace of the game, which you can understand coming on, a man down. But he digs out a cross, hangs it up at the back post, and Anthony Ralston's there 4 or 5 yards out to head it in. Absolute pandemonium.
Yeah, and Ralston had a really good game. I mean, I'm amazed by I didn't think Ralston should have been given a contract. Probably a lot of people didn't. And then he's had a brilliant season, but you think there's probably a limit to this. It's probably going to stop at some point and he'll revert back to mediocrity that we thought was his level. But he's not. He's beyond that now. I don't think he is going to revert back to a level that is mediocre. He's an excellent right back and he's brilliant defensively, but he's a threat going forward. He scored goals for us in Europe. Before he scored tonight, he threatened in the box in the air. He knows his way to go. He knows how to sniff out chances in the air and deep in that game. Brilliant from Rogic. And there he is. He couldn't have picked a better man to score that last minute winner tonight because he's a Celtic man. He's worked hard all season to keep himself in the side. And look at the passion when the ball goes in. I mean, it was absolute chaos. I'd love to have been there. Martin was there. God knows how he's feeling right now in the bus on the way home. But just amazing euphoria to see them at the end there. And that just strengthens our spirit as a group. It's already strong. And we're winners. We're building a team of winners. Winners do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Chris, I think that's 12 wins in the last 13 matches. As I was saying in added time, you think this game's getting away from us, and the injuries had finally caught up on us, and it would have been a blow to slip 6 points behind. But in the context of the season, that could be a massive, massive moment. Where do you see where we stand now? Obviously, big games coming up, the cup final at the weekend. We're away to St Mirren next weekend as well, and then we've got St Johnstone and Hibs in the league before that big derby. How do you see it?
Well, I mean, I think in the context of the season overall, that is probably the biggest result to date in the league. Like that, I don't think that's an understatement because we have been riding such a wave of momentum with positive results, some by the odd goal, which tonight's game once again fits that category. But it's the manner in which we're grinding out results, not always playing fantastic, but we're still getting the wins. Last season, it was the polar opposite. There were times when we played well and we couldn't get results. And then when we played poorly, we got beat and we dropped so many points home and away last year. So I think it speaks to the psychology of the team that Ange is building. They clearly believe in each other and they believe that they can find a way to win even when we have a depleted squad like we've had for the past couple of games. And going into the next round of fixtures, obviously the cup final is another massive game from a psychological perspective, right? You get the first trophy of the season. It just continues to enhance the belief that the players have in each other, the belief in their manager, and vice versa, right? And the fan base is going to just further rally behind. But I mean, we've chatted amongst us in our wee group, but I'm with Kenny. Like, it is frightening how much we are behind the 8 ball right now with injuries up front, and we drastically need some kind of reinforcements, right? Celtic fans might not want to hear it, but might mean we're calling back players that are on loan. If we can't get players back, what are we going to do? Because this isn't sustainable. Because what's going to happen is Abad will get injured because he's playing too many games. Rogic already had an injury because he was playing so much football. We cannot afford to lose anyone from the middle forwards, and the games are just coming thick and fast. Like I think you just rhymed off, that's 5 more games between now and January 2nd. That's 5 games in 17 days. That's an average of about a game every 3.5 days. That is crazy. So, but in the context overall, massive result. Huge boost ahead of Sunday. Hopefully, Kyogo is back for Sunday's game. I mean, I don't think if there's any risk of him further aggravating it, he will be allowed to play by the medical staff. And I would much rather, as much as sad as it sounds, I'd much rather have him from the game at the beginning of January. That's the one that, in the context of the season, is huge.
Yeah, Kenny, psychologically, as Chris has touched on there, psychologically, you know that everyone associated with Rangers will be watching that scoreline tonight thinking there's 2 points gone, and then to salvage the victory right on the final whistle is huge for us. It keeps us in touch, and as Chris says, we can go into that final on Sunday, hopefully with a spring in our step and maybe 1 or 2 players back.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, it's absolute sick bucket material for Rangers. Let's face it, we know how it feels. It's just horrendous. But we're not too worried about that. But the cup final's going to be difficult because I don't know if we're going to have anyone. Who's going to be back? It doesn't look like probably no one will be back. Kyogo maybe, but usually managers will put a bit of spin on that to keep the opposition guessing, even if he's no chance. Based on the fact he's not been on the bench and it was a hamstring, he probably won't be playing. So what do? You've got to bring Rogic back, right? He's the heartbeat of it.
Yeah.
I think I would play Wambada through the middle because I think he's got the instincts, the closest we've got to the instincts of a striker. He's got speed, scored a nice goal tonight. He can finish with his head. I think we keep him on the shoulder the way he is. Certainly wouldn't revert back to Turnbull in there. Yeah. So what does that mean? It probably means Bitton needs to drop out and you just play with your natural shape with 2 wingers, but we don't have any wingers. I don't think you can play Montgomery again. He was really poor. He's been really poor any time he's been up in that position. I just wouldn't play him. I'd play Juranovic on the right, even though he has been poor, because I don't think we've got any other option. And you need to keep Juranovic in the side. He's just important in the side. So his big decisions on the left. I think you might find Moffat. Moffat might get a start in a cup final from the B team. I would rather play Moffat than Montgomery because I think you'll get more out of him. And there's basically no one else.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'd probably like to see Moffat start if that is the decision the manager's got to make, because I think getting Callum McGregor back in that deep line midfield position is important for us. I think Beaton tonight, he was involved going forward a lot, but I mean, think back to that game at Tannadice, Callum McGregor in that deeper position. When he's on form in that position, there's nobody better for us to play there. So, that's it for tonight. Thanks for tuning into the live stream, sticking with us throughout. What a massive win for us. We go into Sunday and the cup final at Hampden now with a spring in our steps, and hopefully the big players can be back soon for these big games that we've got coming up. So like this video, comment with your own thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you on Saturday for the build up to that League Cup final. Cheers.